right now. Only about 130 today, so that is down from at the beginning. We had close to 400 of you on these calls, so maybe we're answering everybody's questions finally. I don't have, I'm assuming that you saw the daily update today that we put out this morning that went into some detail about the Lexington amenities and where we're at in those processes. I'm not going to go over all that again. I'm assuming if you saw this Zoom link, you probably read that update already, but I'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions regarding amenities or anything for that matter. And we'll just make this basically a Q&A Zoom session. So use that chat feature down at the bottom on your toolbar there below you where your Zoom screen is. Click on chat and send me a question, and I'll be happy to answer it, or send me a subject to speak about. We'll try to continue our process of putting out good information for y'all. All right. It says the only communication we have from our Somerset Villas Association has been the order to vacate. Now that's changed. In the Zoom meetings, you have commented steps forward will come from the respective association. Is there anything you can do to help with this? Everything that I can be doing, I'm doing. I am trying to encourage the board. There's a lot of decisions to make. I mean, you guys are the biggest community that was impacted. You have 204 of the close to 500 association ground floor units. So everything they're doing down there in terms of prepping, researching, getting information is all multiplied by at least 2. If not more than that, compared to, like, let's say Sutton Walk, that really only had 24 Bridgestone ground floor residential units impacted. So it is taking them time. I do communicate with them daily. I've been encouraging them to get something out because I think it's important that the association is providing the information on the direction they're going to go. So I am hopeful that something comes out in the very near term. But I agree, the communication went out, and I'm glad that got out quickly this week, that they've postponed that 10/21 deadline. My understanding is they're working with Clyde Johnson to try to determine the best process forward in terms of when they're going to remediate where, so that way they can provide you extended timelines. In other words, if there's a street that maybe is going to be the second or third phase coming in because they're starting somewhere else, I believe what they're trying to do is to give you a little more time in that unit. But again, I'm not speaking for them. I'm just letting you know what I know, and I am doing all I can to try to help them get to a point where they can communicate a little better with those of you out there. And I'll certainly answer any questions you have of information that I know of what's going on. I mean, I'll be certainly transparent with you. Sutton Walk roofs, are they repaired? I didn't get an update this morning. I know 2 days ago they were still doing what's called emergency repairs out there. So that's just a process to take away loose tile and shore up any openings, in particular in those vents that flew off. That really creates a hole in the roof. But I know that was a #1 focus. And I'm assuming if there's crews not there right now, then they are done with the emergency repairs. If they're still there, then they're still working on it. But it is a pretty sizable job. If you've been out there, they've actually got a crane. They've got 4 different lifts. I mean, it's an undertaking. That roof definitely took the brunt of the storm, being the closest to the ocean and being the highest. So, but I know that was a #1 priority for Sutton Walk, is to secure that roof. Southmont Cove elevator is not working, but what is the estimated date to get operational? Yeah, there's not an estimated date. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was some communication with the elevator service company in that area for Southmont, and I think they're waiting on what their guidance is in terms of repair and what needs to be done. So we have reported from day one that for all communities with elevators, this is going to be an extended downtime with elevators. I mean, we are battling against a couple of challenges. One is the age of the elevators and the ability to get parts. And the other one, quite frankly, is decisions your association is going to make once they find out how much it costs to repair, whether it makes more sense to just go ahead and refurbish these and bring them up to date. And actually, that may be a better path anyways, because we know we have issues with parts for these elevators when we order them one at a time, let alone if we have to order 10 boards for a particular brand of elevator, it may take a long time to get those. But as soon as there's information, that's coming out. But I think that what the word I've used is I said that the elevator issue is a months, not a weeks issue. It is definitely a months issue we're dealing with. Electric outlets, which took water. Yeah, they've CJC, part of their remediation efforts is they do have an electrician crew coming through, checking those outlets, replacing those that were hit by water. And just so you know, I think I've mentioned it before, but just to give you a visual of the process that's going on as these crews get to your community or get to your building. What they're doing is they're coming in with specialized crews doing specific jobs. So the first crews typically will come in and they'll make sure all of the flooring that needs to come out is out. The next crew will come in and they'll do drywall cuts. Then you're going to have a crew that's going to come in that's going to take out the cabinets or the built-in vanities if they were impacted. So they're going to come out with a crew. Then a crew comes in to check your showers, your shower sets, your tubs, etc. And then those come out. Then the electrician is coming through as well to replace outlets, double check everything's safe there. And then finally, basically the clean and sanitize crew is coming in. There's some special washes that they'll use on the studs. They'll do a clean and a sanitize of all areas. And at that point in time, most of the remediation is done. With the next step, the final step would be putting the drywall back in place. So at the end of the drywall being in place and that area being taped and mudded in, if you will, to the existing drywall, you're at the end of remediation and focus can then go towards restoration. So that's the process as it's flowing right now. Information that I have says that once home wiring has been immersed in water, especially contaminated water, needs to be replaced. Yeah, I don't know about the wiring. That's not what we've heard. Definitely not what I heard from the environmentalist, nor from the insurance adjusters, and not what I heard from CJC. However, the outlets, which would have come in direct contact with this wiring or with the water, they are being replaced. Yes, absolutely. We're at 16,400 Waterford building and I've lost power in the kitchen. Could our remediations could have knocked the first floor? It's possible. If whoever put that in there, just send me an email and I'll forward it on to CJC, but that is possible. I mean, they're doing demo work in there, and we've definitely had reports of a pipe breaking and other issues that we're just going to have to deal with as they come up. It's just part of the process. But it's very possible if you've got an isolated instance, it could be that. But if you want to send me an email, what I'll do is probably send it to Tyler and to CJC, because if it's a localized issue, Tyler would come check it out for you. When do you think issues on Jennifer's compiled list will be addressed? That's a good question. I don't have a time frame for that. I do know what everybody's been talking about at the association level and with CJC is the focus obviously is on these ground floor residences, getting that remediation process started. Then the process will then fan out from there to where we'll be looking at the garages, as well as in some of the communities you've got exterior stairs that maybe had drywall or stucco needing remediated, and then as well looking into these second and third floor units that took some sort of damage. The other thing that we're trying to balance is many of you on the second floor and up, you're not going to be dealing with a flood master policy insurance claim. You're going to be dealing with a property master policy insurance claim. And so we've only just begun to see some of those property adjusters on site And it definitely helps the adjusting process if some of those issues are still there and they can document them and take photos. Doesn't mean that if you've got an emergency, we're not going to jump on it. If you still have an opening where a window was, if you still have wetness, if you still got soaked carpet or something like that, I hope we've already been in front of all that. But if you haven't reported that, those are definitely emergencies that we would prioritize. But in mass, probably after we get well underway with remediation of ground floor units. Can you provide information on water mapping and remediation of garages in Wedgwood? Also process for that if not there and have left a key and code. Yeah, I think I just kind of touched on that. Obviously in your garages, what you're probably dealing with if you've got drywall cuts, and then a clean and a sanitize. I think that's pretty much going to be the majority of what's going on there to get anything that touched water. And I've heard stories of 4 feet of water in a garage. If that's the case, they're probably just going to take the whole wall down. They'll make an 8-foot cut or just take that entire wall down, because the standard is 1 foot above the water line, and it's easier to replace and quicker to replace when we're dealing with this scale full sheets of drywall than it is to make cuts and mud it back in. We've heard on the news that infections of flesh-eating bacteria, bear with me here, sorry, in the area is on the rise due to the Blackwater. Do you know anything about that in relation to Lexington? I saw the report too. I mean, something came out a few days ago of somebody that was, actually in the water helping rescue people and had gotten cut, and that cut got infected and he ended up passing away. So I absolutely heard about that. I haven't heard anything here. I mean, I think one of the fortunate things is that, the water for the most part receded fairly quickly, and people weren't standing in the water or having to be there for an extended period of time. But that information's out there for sure. I just don't have anything in relation to Lexington. I've not heard any reports internally. So I understand that an adjuster came through my unit and declared that all appliances need replaced. Will that suffice for insurance, or I need to do something further? Also, how are we to remove appliances if we aren't there? Absolutely. I mean, if you have 100% confirmation that the adjuster for your association said that, then it's been documented, and we've already said those appliances are covered under the master flood policy. Anything built in, which would be your kitchen, refrigerator, dishwasher, stove. So absolutely, you can scrap those. In terms of how do we remove them, I mean, I know there's posts that have been on Facebook of people offering help and services in that regard. Also, Home Watch may be a good place to start to help you do that. But if you're not down here, getting somebody to assist is definitely a good idea. I mean, we don't have Lexington staff that's doing those types of projects, but there's helping hands and some resources out there. I don't know this for a fact, but I'll read it. I appreciate you posting it. It just says that this person says they understand the Somerset Village Board was meeting this morning, so there should be more news soon. So I'm not aware of that, but it very well could be. So hopefully we'll get something. When might we expect a more complete overview of the restoration process and timeline, and will that come from you or the respective associations? I think I kind of just gave you an idea of the process. The timeline, I think, understanding just how long it's taking and trying to get a handle then on multiplying that time by so many units is the process they're going through now. I would say for most of your associations, they're going to have that information before I do. But, we'll push that out and we have it. But, we've been committed really from the beginning that we want to get to a point where we can tell you what's happening, when it's happening, what to expect. But then again, we're not going to put that out there if all it is a speculative time frame. So we know you want that information. Everybody here wants it as well. And as soon as we think that we're at a point with CJC and what they know is kind of their work order and their process and how long it's taken them, we're going to put that out. So what is CJC's progress as it proceeds along Bayberry Blend and taking out drywall? I'm going to probably stop short in providing individual updates into each community. I mean, I've been around there. I kind of know where they're at, but I also don't want to misspeak. So, again, that definitely is, especially, Wedgwood, you guys have a good group there. Shoot an email to one of your association leaders. They may have more timely information on where somebody's at in that process. I don't have that as I sit here today, though. Will the owners get a copy of the set adjusters? On the report, it was said that each unit might have a different remediation level. Yeah, again, I'm not speaking for the associations. I'm letting you know what I would think would be reasonable. I mean, at some point in time, you all need to know kind of what you have to work with to restore your property. So getting that information to you is going to be part of that process. Again, but that'll come from your association. And I've told folks that when we started the adjusting process, they told me what I heard from the first adjusters was about 45 to 60 days once the adjusting is over, that there should be a first check, if you will, made from the insurance company in terms of what they're submitting from that report. So I would think that is the latest in the timeline that report would be out there, and it very well could be we get that report before they issue any sort of money. So Sutton Walk garages, yeah, they did. They were being inspected yesterday and today. And thank you to everybody. We reached out to you at Sutton Walk that provided us your code or went downstairs and unlocked your garage door. That was very important because that adjuster wanted to get as many pictures as possible. Notice after remediation in the lake, some units did not have their tubs ripped out. That's a possibility that some tubs would not be ripped out in some Wedgwood units? Absolutely. There's always that possibility. Yes, absolutely. I do think, though, from what I'm hearing, that's the exception to the rule, and that those are decisions that are made once those crews get in there. But it is possible. And yes, you're right. I do know of a situation or two where a tub was deemed to be okay. I'm at 16411 Millstone and we have lost power. Is there work being done on the first floor? I don't know if that's in relation to the last email I got or the last chat I got, but while I'm on this Zoom, if it's more than just a unit or a kitchen, maybe pop in a service ticket request if you can, if there's a way to do that, or call the front desk and ask them to do it, and maybe they'll get that process started. I said email before, but if it's more widespread, we may be able to get we may be able to get on a little bit quicker than when I'm done with this. So will you be providing the official document stating that we have been ordered to evacuate? Yeah, good question. So I know some of you guys that are working with FEMA, yeah, they're going to want something a little bit more official than an email from the association that just says this is what we're doing. So my understanding and my, just again, reasonable suspicion is that with this water mapping report and information, they will be able to grab some information there documenting why the decision to close, that will be a help for you and your FEMA and insurance claims. So yes. Still not had Lexington adjuster on Middlebrook Court. Yeah, I think I mentioned this a couple of times. We've had 2 adjusters show up to Somerset Villas. They only had about 2/3 of the buildings. I don't remember which ones they did. Again, Dan Delina or somebody on the board can probably tell you specifically what buildings have been done. But they're out there. Why can't we get someone from CJC to assess our places now? They were here on October 5th and did a hasty inspection. Could find out if they believe we need. I'm not getting that one. If you want to send me a direct email, just send me an email and be a little more specific, where you live and what you're looking for. Personal insurance hired our remediation and condo due to ceiling and drywall from high winds. Okay. And again, if your personal insurance is covering that and they're doing it now, that's great. I would just say hang on to that paperwork. And once the adjusting process is done, both for the flood and from the wind damage, we can sort through that. Will CJC paint or at least prime the drywall? Yeah, I'm don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard in discussions was they will put a primer coat on the drywall and that'll be the last done there. Due to leaking roofs, does the association HOA need to be inspectable before we go to restoration? Yeah, all the roofs will get a full a full review, and yes, we will want to make sure that everything is tied up there before we start restoration and run the risk of ruining new stuff we put in there. So at the end of remediation, where they put toilets back on, I would think so. I would think that's the process, but really we haven't firmed that up yet in terms of what happens after the drywall goes up. I may have missed this, but did any of the water come from sewers? I don't believe it came directly from sewers, but Cat 3 water is defined as potentially having sewage contaminants in it. Yes. Our screens and sliders are gone. When can they be repaired? The guidance we've been given on that is we don't have confirmation yet from those property adjusters if that's going to be association or unit owner responsibility. And again, I think I've said this quite a few times, just because you have to pay for your own sliders or your own Lanai screens in the normal times doesn't mean it won't be on the policy and covered under the insurance. But what I suggest is if you've got a contact out there and you can get somebody to come out and replace or repair your Lanai to secure it in terms of your screen or whatever, feel free to do that. As always, we want you to get a licensed business contractor. They should make sure they notate on the invoice what the damage was from, and then hang on to that receipt. And there'll be a process later to submit that onto one of those two insurance claims. Also, as a reminder, when it comes to these things, if you're just replacing it with the like kind, if you're putting the exact same screens back up, you can go forward with that request. If you're changing anything at all, you do need to submit an A&E. You have to submit an A&E if you're making any exterior changes. Will Lexington or the individual associations have funds available to pay the deductibles for the flood and the property insurance? So, I mean, the way that insurance works is the deductible payment is deducted from the amount of the claim. So nobody has to actually pay a deductible. It's just deducted on what the total claim amount is. Is water mapping complete? If yes, has the board received the reports? They can pass it on. So water mapping is done. My last update I got this morning was that they have not received the reports yet. So I know that team is working diligently, and let's face it, I mean, they did a lot of work for 7 days, and so it's probably taking them some time to pull all that information together. But as far as I know, as of this morning, that had not been circulated out. That report has not come from OHI yet. Question here about Sutton Walk HOA has not reached out to us. I think Sutton Walk has sent some communications for sure. So if you're not getting those, I suggest calling the front desk and make sure that you're on the email list there. But they have put out some information. Are the adjusters finished in Southmont Cove? Yes, I believe they have wrapped up. They wrapped up earlier this week. Will the first floor outdoor storage closets be addressed on Southmont Cove now, as well as during remediation phase, since they have also taken water? Yes, I believe that is the case. I mean, in terms of now, the focus now is on residential units. So any of those other structures, whether it's in a lanai or it's in a garage, that's going to kind of happen on the second step of this remediation phase. But they will be looked at. I'm out of questions, so I'll give you a minute or two here if you've got any more, but I don't see anything else in the chat here. Or if you feel I didn't address something thoroughly or you've got a follow up, let me know. The adjusters that have been through Sutton Walk, are they for flood only? Yes, they are. Property adjusters, I think early next week for Sutton Walk, if I remember on my schedule, but early next week for property at Sutton Walk. And I think the flood adjusters, I think they're finishing up today. I don't think they're gone yet, but I think they've gotten through the units already. Yeah, I can't, you're asking when will you see an adjuster on Bayberry Bend? I don't know. And I think we've told you this before. These adjusters, they are part of your insurance policy that your association has. So, I mean, they've got a lot of work to do. So the plan here and the ideal situation is not for them to engage with each individual homeowner. Because if they did that, this process would take twice or three times as long. So again, on Bayberry, in Somerset, we've only seen 2/3 of the units be adjusted so far. So there's still another adjuster that needs to come on site. But again, we're not, part of this program is not to let you know when they're going to be there, because I'm sure you can see how long that would take them to get through each unit. That's not their responsibility. They're taking care of the items that are your association's responsibility, and they're noting that. If they don't note something correctly, you will have a chance to come back and say, wait a minute, you didn't know that I had these designer kitchen cabinets, and we can file a supplemental claim. So there's always a process to amend things after this first report, but it's important to get this first report done so we can start getting some information and, quite honestly, some funding in, so we can start paying some of the bills in your association for what's been done already. CJC needs to come in to Somerset Village residents, especially the units with what we believe had minimal water, and tell us to some extent what we will be doing. Do our cabinets and vanities need to be taken out? Again, that is what is happening, and that really is part of some of the delay from your board up there, is that they're trying to ascertain this information in order to communicate to you a realistic time frame and give you the correct information on what will and will not be done. We have said, and the information that was put out last week from your board specifically said that they are aware that some units did not take water and some units didn't take as much water. So that's been out there the whole time. I get the frustration of taking long, but I mean, that's what they're working on, is they're trying to make sure they can determine what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. So hang on tight. That information's coming. Just because you don't hear from them doesn't mean that they're not still working. So to be honest, I think some people are joining these calls because they become repetitive. The respective boards really need to start holding these calls for the respective associations. We really appreciate your efforts, but the boards need to know they have to be more transparent. Yeah, I think that's a good comment. I'll certainly share that with them. And I agree with you. Sometimes I do answer the same question 30 or 40 times over the course of these multiple Zooms we've had. Yeah, no Zoom tomorrow. If I've got information to report, I may do one Saturday afternoon, but we're not going to do one tomorrow. Again, you know how to get in touch with us if you have questions, or get in touch with your association leadership. I think, as the last commenter said, I mean, I think we're at a point where a lot of the questions we've given you answers to. You may not agree with the answers, or you may think it's not the right direction, and that certainly is respected. But I mean, we've answered a lot of questions, and we've given you all the information that we have. And when new information is available, we're going to push it out. But I don't think we need to have Zooms just to have them so we can ask the same questions again. So we'll take a break tomorrow. Somebody just said adjusters are on Bayberry Bend this morning. So there you go, up to the minute on-site reporting from one of our Somerset Village residents. Thank you. We're out of state. How are we notified if appliances are covered? Appliances are covered. That is confirmed. What you need to know is if they're working or not. So again, I think that's where maybe a home watch person could help you if you're looking to get those replaced now, or you can wait until the restoration phase. I mean, if you're not here and you're not coming back until your unit is restored, then those things can be taken care of at that point. Talk about textured walls in Southmont Cove. Yes. So no, I mean, those textured walls will be restored. I mean, that will be part of the restoration process. So I know that they are aware of that. CJC is. I don't know if that texturing is going to be done at the end of remediation, or if that's something they'll do as they start the restoration process. I don't know the timing of it, but they are aware of that. Can you speak as to windows being compromised and the outlook of insurance coverage for replacement, whether wind or flood claims? Yeah, I mean, I don't have any confirmed information in terms of the property side of the claim, but I mean, that's why you have property insurance, is if a window blows out, to provide that. And my understanding would be that would be covered under the association's property insurance. I'm not speaking from anything that of confirmation, because we haven't talked to those adjusters yet, but I would think that's what that insurance would help cover. I live on Bristol Bend and on a circular driveway. CJC put the carpeting. Yeah, if you got a particular issue like that, just send me an email on that, please. I'd be happy to address an individual issue. If you've got an issue, we'll do it that way. What do you consider as being adjusted? They did a quick walkthrough. Yeah, I'm not sure who was where you live in particular, but I can tell you all the adjusters I talked to, I mean, they spent anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. They took photos. They documented, things they could document in terms of, maybe what was in the unit in terms of level of flooring, carpet, et cetera, if there were still remnants there, or if there was still flooring in there. So again, I mean, we've had a lot of adjusters here. I'm sure they all have their own practice of doing things, and we'll wait to see what the report says. Yeah, question about how do you know about shower floor tubs need to come out? That decision is being made as those crews get in there to do the full remediation, or if AC and appliances need to be replaced, per the adjuster's report. Yeah, I mean, with your AC and your appliances, if you've got somebody here that can check on those things, they can probably tell you. And then you can even remotely, you can hire a contractor to come out and check your air conditioner unit. So that's what I would suggest. You can wait. I mean, there will be a process, but it'll probably be in the restoration process, where these things are looked at in mass. But it's not something that's happening at this stage. And that's why we've suggested to pursue getting those things replaced if you need to and if you want to. Yeah, heard from someone that alcohol in their unit is being concerned by workers when units are left open. I haven't heard that, but I'm not surprised. That I'm sure there's a lot of stories floating around out there, but that's not been confirmed to me. I'll be honest, we've had one issue, one theft issue that was dealt with from a unit. And I can tell you the way Clyde Johnson handled it is he fired the entire crew, 90 guys. He fired the entire crew that was working in that area because somebody in their crew stole something out of a unit. So I'm realistic. What we're doing is not without some risk. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things you need to do to make sure you keep things moving quickly and efficiently. But I would also stop people short from recommunicating something you heard from somebody who told you from somebody else. I mean, that information really isn't helpful to get out there. And really all it does is cause unnecessary alarm in the community. I did mention we've got 2 security guards that will start working on Monday, nighttime rounds that will specifically be devoted to our associations. So we'll be making evening loops, as well as our front gate staff. So we'll have 3 people roving the community at night. And also the update yesterday on the back gates, whereas the equipment is in, it'll start being installed on Monday, assuming that goes in well. As long as we can get Comcast working out there and check our modems, we're hoping to have those back gates closed and operational hopefully next week. So. Can you go over the master plan insurance company handles reimbursement to owners or payments to contractors? Yeah. So we haven't determined the process there. What we've told you all is to hang on to those receipts, and there'll be a process at some point in time to get those included on the claim and then to apply for reimbursement. But I don't know the logistics of that right now. And I don't know the time frame. But I would tell you at the very least, it would be at the point in time the earliest would be is at the point in time that your association begins to get insurance funds coming in, because your association doesn't have the front money to start reimbursing you for things that you've bought that'll be included in the insurance claim. Will CJC remove our blown in hurricane shutters? I think that's going to depend on what the claim comes back on. I mean, if hurricane shutters will be included in the property claim, then yes, they will be contracted to do that. If they're not, if it ends up being unit owner's responsibility, then that would be on you. And again, we won't know that until we get through that adjusting process. After property adjusters come through our condos, will we get a report soon after so we can move forward? Yeah, I don't know about soon. I'm not sure what that definition is, but those reports will go to your association and they will disseminate that information. This is an association's policy. It's not your policy. They are going to share it. They have to. I mean, they're going to share because you're going to want to know what your claim values are. We're going to want to make sure that it got right. So there will be a process to get that information out, but it's going to go to the association first. We are assuming adjusters are checking everything as well as checking windows. So I've only know of 2 property insurance adjusters that have been on site. One, I think, is in Southmont Cove today, and one did a few buildings over in Wedgwood, I think last week. So yes, I mean, that's part of the adjusting process, is roof checks, exterior building checks, that sort of thing. Yeah, question about how many companies available for restoration to choose from. I don't have that information yet, but as we noted before, we're gonna try to get that information out to you as soon as we can. Really, all efforts right now have been on remediation, but as that begins to stabilize in each association, I think we can devote more energy to that process, how it goes down, what's available for you to choose from, that sort of thing. All right, I ran out of questions, so I'll give you 30 more seconds if you got anything else for me. All right, tell your friends this was recorded, and we will put this out on the daily update tomorrow if they want to view it, and they can see all of the previous Zooms recorded on that YouTube site as well. So hope you guys all have a good day. Bye-bye.